The 16-bit wrestling boom was a lawless carnival of lycra and latent glitchery. In June 1993, LJN's WWF Royal Rumble somersaulted onto the Super Nintendo, promising 16 megabits, 12 superstars, and the first console battle royal that could crowd 6 beefcakes on screen without turning the frame rate into confetti. Classic or clunker, depends on whether you grade a wrestling game by its frame-perfect suplexes, or by the sheer comic audacity of an R-button eye-gouge that works only when the ref face plants. We already know you'll spam it the moment the zebra's on the canvas, so don't play coy. Too fundamental to dismiss, too janky to canonize, Royal Rumble survives in that glorious gray area where you can witness Yokozuna trying to deadlift Ric Flair in Mode 7 agony and still walk away smiling. The absurd thread weaving through all this pixel pulp, that not quite legal shoulder button poke, a tiny plastic gateway to kayfabe villainy that turns every bout into improv comedy the instant the referee takes a nap. Historical context, roll back to the rental aisles of mid-1990s. Acclaim, wearing its LJN mask for Nintendo Publishing, dropped WWF Royal Rumble mere months after Super WrestleMania, and weeks before Street Fighter II Turbo began siphoning every living room power outlet. Sculptured Software handled coding duties. Acclaim's ad copy screamed 16 meg mayhem and 6 men in the ring. Wrestling itself was wobbling through a transitional era. Hulk Hogan was off filming Thunder in Paradise, Monday Night Raw had just debuted from Manhattan Center, and Vince McMahon's roster resembled a Saturday morning cartoon drawn by gym rats. The SNES cart mirrored the moment, brandishing a dozen playable superstars. Licensing roulette split the lineup between consoles. The Genesis got Hulk Hogan, Papa Shango, and the British Bulldog, while the Super Nintendo flaunted Ric Flair, Mr. Perfect, Tatanka, Ted DiBiase, and the monstrous newcomer Yokozuna. Playground bragging rights divided accordingly. My schoolyard arguments over perfect plex versus leg drop could have fueled a pay-per-view. My own first suplex came courtesy of a Pizza Hut kiosk with buttons glazed in stuffed crust grease. I picked Bret Hart, mashed the X button like a caffeinated woodpecker, and discovered the game's defining gimmick. Grapples resolve through a visible tug-of-war meter that slides toward whoever hammers fastest. 2 minutes later, I'd burned a callus on my thumb and declared the cartridge realistic. It wasn't, but it felt deliciously exhausting. An arcade quarter trap smuggled into the living room. Mechanics. If Street Fighter II is chess with fireballs, WWF Royal Rumble is hungry hippos in spandex. Every wrestler shares a 4-button suite of strikes, and grapples map to the SNES face buttons, while the shoulder buttons handle the dirty work. Press L for an eye gouge, press R for a choke. Those tactics are only legal under 2 conditions. You're in the Brawl or Royal Rumble modes, where the referee never bothers to show up, or the ref in a standard match has been knocked down, usually because a stray whip sends him bumping cartoon style to the mat. Timing a cheap shot during that brief zebra-free window is the closest 16-bit equivalent to MLB sign stealing. And yes, the AI will abuse it right back if you leave them unsupervised. The visible grapple meter is the cardio engine driving every contest. At lockup, both players mash X. The bar wobbles under the ring lights like a tug-of-war rope at recess. Win the pulse-pounding mash and you'll trigger a mid-tier slam, Savage's scoop, Brett's Russian leg sweep, or if you max the gauge, a signature, Mr. Perfect's perfect plex, Tatanka's Samoan drop. Lose the tug and brace for elbow drops. It's unabashed button mashing, but the meter's transparency turns frantic thumbs into a spectator sport. Even the kid hogging the second controller can't help tilting forward when he sees that bar creeping. Because illegal moves bypass the grapple meter entirely, a savvy player weaponizes the ref's unconscious downtime. Eye gouges drain health faster than jabs and interrupt grapples. Chokes by precious stamina recovery cycles. The ethical calculus is primitive but potent. Wrestle clean and risk attrition, or heal out and risk a DQ the instant the ref stands up. Confession, I've never wrestled clean a day in my digital life. Then there's the headline attraction, the Royal Rumble match. 2 wrestlers start, new entrants arrive every 30 seconds until 6 jam the ring, and eliminations come only via top rope heave. Wear down an opponent, yank them toward the ropes, mash like a caffeine fiend, and pray. The SNES manages 6 sizable sprites plus health bars without imploding, something even the lauded AKI N64 engine never surpassed. Health indicators hover above each head, expend too much stamina on eye gouges, and someone sneaks up to dump you while you're winded. The spectacle evokes Super Smash Bros. Chaos, filtered through 1993 cable pay-per-view static. Standard bouts feature a roaming referee sprite who enforces tags, breakups, and DQs. Eye-Gouge him by accident and he flops over, starting a hidden 10-second timer, your window for every heel antic imaginable. Manage to nail a finisher during that lawless stretch and the crowd pop, well, the mixed sample crowd squeal hits sweeter than a perfectly timed parry in a modern fighter. Side modes include Brawl, no pins, KO only, Tournament Tag, 8 consecutive wins for 8-bit belts, and the infamous Chair Buffet. That last one hinges on a community anecdote. Slide outside, snag a steel chair, deposit it inside, repeat until you've littered the canvas like a yard sale. While no official documentation confirms the glitch, longtime players swear the AI loops into perpetual trip animations if enough props pile up. Whether myth or miracle, the rumor itself became local scene lore. Graphical quirks border on endearing. Flair's blown back hair sprite flickers if two wrestlers share an X coordinate. Brett's shades vanish one frame early on his victory pose. And the ring apron occasionally snags sprites, causing self-eliminations worthy of botchamania. Far from ruining the fun, these hiccups add analog fuzz, like tracking lines on a VHS tape that remind you you're watching something home recorded at SP speed. Legacy and influence. So why does Royal Rumble still headline retro wrestling debates despite mechanics that feel prehistoric next to No Mercy or WWE 2K24? Because it nailed spectacle density first. 6 wrestlers at once, plus an over-the-top elimination gimmick delivered a genuine pay-per-view vibe years before polygons or analog sticks. THQ cited that tech milestone when green-lighting 4-man matches for WCW vs NWO World Tour. You can trace the lineage from tug-of-war grapples to the segmented stamina wheels in modern 2K installments. Culturally, the shoulder button cheap shots became meme gold. Speedrun leaderboards split into clean percent, no eye gouges, and dirty percent, spam city. Commentary at Games Done quick marathons inevitably devolves into jokes about Vince McMahon planting the seeds of the Attitude Era right there in 1993 code. A Japan-only prototype ROM even surfaced briefly in 2018, showing Yokozuna's bonsai splash crashing the game if performed outside the ring. Proof that Sculptured Software had to scrap some truly chaotic ideas before American release. The file vanished behind a collector's paywall, but grainy screenshots circulate like digital Bigfoot. Mainstream nostalgia gravitates to WWF Raw. The trilogy's closer, but I contend Royal Rumble strikes a sweeter balance. Raw's blood-red health bars obscure readability. Rumble's color-coded meters telegraph everything. Raw adds over-the-top finishers for Doink the Clown, but Rumble gifts us Ric Flair's Figure 4, exclusive to SNES, and a roster that feels like a best-of-new-generation micro-documentary. Why did it stay niche? Timing. The game shipped just as 16-bit saturation peaked, and arcades whispered polygon seduction. By the time households traded up to CD-based hardware, Hulkamania had cooled, and gamers craved motion-captured martial arts over sprite-based leg sweeps. Still, each January when the real Royal Rumble PPV rolls around, Retropods stream the SNES cartridge, chat spam the R button, and a younger audience discovers that yes, there's a wrestling game where the referee actually matters, if only because you can knock him senseless for tactical advantage. Closing paragraph plus score. Contemporary wrestling games may tout photoreal sweat and motion-captured spears, but none replicate the giddy thrill of timing an eye gouge precisely as the referee collapses, then flinging a dazed opponent over the ropes to an 8-bit crowd roar. WWF Royal Rumble is a design time capsule, half sports sim, half button mash carnival, all wrapped in the glorious certainty that good taste was optional so long as thumb endurance held out. Sure, the tug-of-war meter borders on callous torture, the roster split invites Genesis envy, and bugs sometimes do the job of the booking committee. Yet every match still ends with me grinning like Bobby Heenan on a hot mic, because kayfabe chaos never needed high-res textures, just a shoulder button mapped to mischief. Score, 7.5 out of 10. -1 for knuckle-cramping mashes, -0.5 for rosters that required dual consoles to collect them all, +2 for 6-man wizardry, a tug-of-war meter that turns spectators into hype men, and the eternal joy of weaponizing a referee's power nap. Lace your boots, stretch your thumbs, and remember, in this ring, etiquette taps out the moment that eye gouge prompt flashes on screen.